project. So maybe you could just put a small light into that. Just take a few minutes on that, please.
I think, yeah. So we, as I said, certainly in the build process took a little bit longer, getting the investment approvals and otherwise, but all of that is improving. Since we've opened, we've had over 150,000 visitors in the first 13 months. So we're averaging about 10 to 12,000 visitors a month for a 100-room hotel. Everybody is using it really as a gateway to Chitwan in the east and also Lumbini in the west. One of the key issues or the key advantages really about integrated resort tourism is that you can offer all of the benefits of meetings, conventions, and otherwise, but we also do have the financial engine of a casino. Being a listed company in Australia and adherent to all of the rules about anti-money laundering and all of the things that you'd expect, we're able again to raise the level of of ownership really of those types of things. So we are looking now at recovering our $50 million investment, hopefully in the next 3 years. And that will enable us again to then go on and do the same and use the learnings from that, use the database that we've created, improve the opportunity, and hopefully again do the same for less, but for a higher return in Japa.
Thank you, Mike. I think that is quite a good picture. So I'd like to take my next question to Mr. Hori again. How has your experience in investing in Nepal been? How do you see the prospect of Nepal developing itself to create new destination and tourism infrastructure? Mr. Hori.
Thank you for your very difficult question, Sagit. First, if I talk about the investment, I mean hotel investment, which I mentioned, then it takes 2 nights, 3 nights, long time. So I explain very simply. In our case, we started our investment in 2012. We were a bit optimistic because the hotel is very popular industry in here, and there are lots of resources. And sort of on a private basis, we asked a guy to lead the project. At the early stage, it worked very well, but with the turning point of earthquake, it has slowed down, and it's in time-wise, cost-wise, overrun, to be honest. So we reflect that we should have the solid, more organized, more official team at the very beginning, which covers not only the construction itself, but the relationship with village people, relationship with government authorities. If we did so, then the picture would be much different. One reason is that the number of the investment from Japan is very few. Actually, I used to be work in a bank, SMBC, and we had taken care of lots of investment projects, Thailand, Malaysia, some Asian countries. But for those countries, there are lots of experiences in Japan. And for example, we have named JETRO, Japan Export Trade Investment Organization, and they are very good partner for us. They advise us, they suggest us. But in this case, they have very few knowledge about Nepal. So we had to manage almost by ourselves. So from this point, lots of secret information we have. So let me stop at this point.
But you know, Mr. Hori, what you just said, I think would be applicable to any other country. If you don't have a great team on board, on grounds,
Yes.
and if there isn't a clear picture of how you want to move forward, I think this would be a problem faced anyway. It's not specific to Nepal,
Yeah,
I think.
in short,
But I think it's great for the future investors to hear that you do need a... how do you see the prospect of Nepal?
yes, this is one solution. But the Nepal has the country of long history, lots of heritage. It's not the same as some other countries in Asia. So what I want to say is the important point is to preserve the uniqueness, tradition, the sort of very conservative traditional approach. Then
of all Nepalis, that we keep our identity as we go along in development as well, and keep that in mind in all our projects. So I think that's a great point that you brought forward, that we have to remember, the government has to remember, us in the private sector as well, that we keep encouraging and having projects that does not in any case, in any way, come or take us away from the identity of a Nepali person.
This is called brand perception, and to me is a very important part. You can say Nepal is this and this and this, and you can put it on your slogans, you can go out to, but is it believable and valid? And how people perceive. And if it's a neutral perception, is as bad as a negative perception we have found in the world. People don't get on an aeroplane unless they have a positive image perception of your destination. So I think it's a very valid point. If you say we're a city, we're a destination of pilgrimage, we're a destination of adventure tourism, or we're a destination of this, it has to be a believable pitch. So, point. Spiritual tourism and Mecca for peace. Again, my answer is yes, Nepal could be, but you have to be, this particular special interest tourism, you have to be very understanding of the local people when you introduce this one. I mean, when you go to Rome, many people will go to the Vatican. It's part of their visit. But Rome has already ramped up for tourism arrival, so it can access for thousands of people walking around. And when I go to places of pilgrimage or potential experiences, that's what tourism is today. So my experiences at your festivals or your religious gatherings, they want to share that. It's not about a product. So you have to change.
Him, we have proof that 2 other Buddhas were born there. So, and as to my knowledge and what I've learned from a small age, we human beings do not choose and decide where we get born, but the Buddhas choose which part of planet, which the world to humanity. And I guess here's a scope in Lumbini for some questions from the audience. So,
direct your question to one particular person, that would be really great.
Honorable speakers, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Abbas. I am Honorary Consul of Nepal in Sudan. I consider myself as a Nepali while presenting what I'm going to of these banks are from Gulf area. I'm in the board of directors from the Gulf, and they have money, and they are ready to invest, and this will be directly to Mr. Joshi with tourism or through tourism to construct a very high standard hotel or series of hotels through their companies, through their know-how, through their ability. Plans for an hotel or series of hotel, I'm ready to take them with me, and they will start constructing immediately so as to catch Mr. Hori. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Abbas. I think that's very encouraging, very, very optimistic, very positive. But I am sure Mr. Deepak, he has shown us and listed a whole lot of the different projects we have, and I know that there are a couple of hotels there, so after the session, I'm sure we can hand over these projects, and I think they have even more detailed plans within that. Thank you so much, Mr. Abbas.
We'll be able to take in 2 more questions because we'll have to wrap up after that. So if anyone else has another question.
So my name is Madhu. Of course, it has the casino, but casino is not a big part of the whole offering. So it will be just around 3 or 5% of the whole offering. So
I'll start, and I'll say yes because Mike's sitting beside me. So actually, you come to a great. You come to a good point. I mean, integrated resorts, but the word that people don't like sometimes is casino. So I've just come back from Japan. I'm going back to Japan in a few months' time to talk. $10 billion each. 10 billion each. That's price tag. And they have so many international suitors right now. They can pick and choose which one. Each city, it might be Osaka, Tokyo, and so forth. And the plan of the Prime Minister's Office of Japan is to revitalize tourism and trade. That is the main reason they're going to have IRs. They don't mention the word casinos. So by 2025, Japan will have 3 large integrated resorts, maybe of the same like Marina Bay Sands. So they've chosen that as a pathway to revitalize and rejuvenate their tourism and trade. Singapore also, for 2005, they didn't have casino legalization. They made that big leap of policy making because they wanted to stay competitive in the region as a leading tourism and MICE destination. And they knew that they had to have a integrated resort setting. So there's argument for an integrated resort setting. It's playing out in the Philippines, it's playing out in Vietnam. So there's many locations. Casino's only 3% of a 97%.
So I'll be brief. So thanks for the question, Madhu, and thanks, Glenn. I think, really for us, the challenge really for us, I think certainly the answer to your question is yes. The great thing about Nepal is, of course, you have a 1,000, 1,200 kilometer land border with India, all of which is crossable. So I think one of the things that we've, in our own master plan, is to have 3, and each successive time change it a little bit to make sure that it suits the surrounds and the surrounding area and delivers what the customers would like, and also in India. So learning from our 5 or 6 years worth of expense and adds time. So I think the ability for people to come immediately there, we're hoping again as we add more hotel rooms and as other Nepalis and non-Nepalis add hotel rooms to that area, that will become essentially a second entry to Nepal and really bring Lumbini to the fore and help Nepal to generate its expected 2 million tourists in 2020. So, and we hope other people will come too. I think the proof that we've been able to overcome to start making a return should entice other investors from abroad, again using that Singapore or the Japanese model as opposed to what used to be here in Nepal, which is a separation between the hotel and the operators of these types of venues.
Thank you so much.
I think we have one more question.
Yes, I think that would be the last question for this session. Can someone please hand over the cordless mic to the gentleman? Again, your name, where you're from, and your question, and who you direct the question to, sir.
My name is Hello, can you hear? My name is Behzad Mirzai. I'm representing the Hong Kong General Chamber of Commerce. I'm coming from Hong Kong, neighbor of Macau. We have probably had visitors from mainland China, about 50 million last year. So including the foreign visitors, probably 80 million, and we only 7 million people in the city. You can see how much capacity and how much job has been done to create infrastructure for accommodating 80 million in the city. My question go directly probably to all panelists, because now the Asian travelers are normally looking at one journey, multiple destination. They don't want to stay over, let's say, 1 or 2 nights in one single hotel. They want to go multiple locations. Like, for example, we have these Great Bay Area happening in Hong Kong, Macau, and 9 mainland cities in the Guangdong. Is actually, if the tourists come, probably they want to stay all these 9 cities. Every city is 1 night, at least for experience. Do you think Nepal can actually develop or take advantage of this concept? Let's say one journey. I'm come from Hong Kong, right? So I want to go to at least 5 destinations in the course of 5 days. Do you think it's possible, or if it is, what would be the challenges? Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I think I'll just try to answer that. I think absolutely possible, and in fact, we have many destinations in Nepal that have already been developed. So if you would come to Kathmandu, you would probably do Kathmandu city, and then you have the other 2 cities, but then you would take a 2-night for the jungle safari. So as Mr. Deepak pointed out, we are a vertical country, so right from the plains up to the highest mountains. So there is no dearth of products or experiences in this country. It's all about packaging it together, so you could be
lifetime experiences encompasses many variety of activities, and as you mentioned, we are also promoting Nepal as a one vacation, many holiday breaks. So that kind of variety of activities we have, and we are going to promote in that way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that's been an amazing question and answer session, and I do hope that, however, that this will be a start of your engagement with tourism development in Nepal. As for one, for whom tourism has been the lifeblood of my family, for 2, and now with 3 generations, I am grateful to have had this opportunity to hear and learn from all your extensive experiences. Nepal is blessed to have such extraordinary potential as this panel and these question and answers have so generously shown. For developing destinations for recreation and pilgrimages. I hope that each and every one of us will continue to try and make these potentialities into realities, and I want to say thank you very much to my panelists, to everybody in the hall for such a, I think, proactive and wonderful session. I would like to now request our chair, Dr. Ram Kumar Puyal, Member, National Planning Commission, to please do the wrap-up. Your Honorable Dr. Ram Kumar Puyal.
Excellencies, distinguished panelists, delegates, high-level government officers, all the foreign participants, and ladies and gentlemen, namaste and very good afternoon. I am very much pleased to be here in this very important event this afternoon, and very much delighted to have a very wonderful discussions and insightful as well as commendable remarks and suggestions made by our very scholarly distinguished panelists. The thoughts, ideas, experience and suggestions that has been given by our panelists are the novel ideas for us to promote our tourism business and to develop a tourism industry as one of the leading industries in Nepal. So I would like to thank all the listen, and you have come to Kathmandu all the way from your long distance. Thank you very much. At the meantime, I would like to appreciate a lot to our colleagues, Mr. Deepak Raj Joshi, who highlighted our potentialities and our unique wealth of this globe so that we can develop a very ambitious plan to make tourism sector as one of the leading driving economic sectors of this nation. At the meantime, I also would like to thank all the participants, those who made a very high curiosity to know something better, something changeable, something transformative ideas if there is anything from our sides. So we made an attempt to, our panelists made an attempt to answer those questions. So I thank you all once again. In fact, it is true that Nepal has very rich spiritual and cultural heritages with natural beauty that makes it as one of the most naturally beautiful countries in the world. That attractions includes Nepal's rich history, old heritages, sites, museums, temples, fame as a birthplace of Buddha, wildlife, ancient traditions, culture, and ethnic diversity, as well as Nepalese themselves who are most spiritually minded value their guests and culturally rooted. In fact, tourism in Nepal is a very growing business. Nepal welcomed nearly 1.2 million tourists in 2018, and the growth rate of tourist arrival has been consistently increased by 40% in 2016, 25% in 2017, and 25% in 2018. So it has a goal, the country has a goal to welcome 2 million tourists in 2020, and the government long-term plan has envisions to invite around 3.5 million tourists within next 5 years. So it is the fact that government has given the foremost priorities for the development of tourism sectors in its periodic and long-term vision as well. The government of Nepal has a national vision of tourism development and has been planning accordingly to support this increasing interest and investment in tourism from the private sectors as well. As spoken by our panelists, and panelist has raised some questions about public policy mechanism and master plans about tourism sectors. The government now has made an enabling environment for the tourism investment, in which we have been also drafting the economic, social and environmental policies guidelines for the ownership, location and internalization of the activities of these sectors in Nepal. It is the fact that government has clearly identified tourism as being fundamentals to Nepal's economic growth by envisioning quality tourism services as one of the key drivers of economic transformation. At the initial stage, government has initiated promoting the tourism sectors to generate the growth. Later, government has planned to invest more to accelerate the growth, and after few decades, government has a huge plan to invest more to sustain that business in Nepal. So the first and foremost things to work with us is to invest in tourism sectors. If we can't generate more production, the growth rate and GDP cannot be achieved. So we have a high target of achieving the growth rate, that is around 10%. So to achieve that growth rate also, we need to promote the tourism sectors.